Hello, hello, hello. Welcome once again to my channel. Jerry Opoka here. And if you are a first-time visitor, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, thank you for coming back. If you've not subscribed to the channel, please hit that button, and do not forget the notification button so that you'll be informed whenever I put out a new video. And please if you like the content, click that button so that I also know that it is working. Right, let's dive right into today's topic, which is fear of failure. I personally have had so much about fear. So much has been put out there, and for me, it's been about 2 years now that I've been hearing all these things. But also I'm hearing it because suddenly the fear of failure, especially, just kind of blew out of proportion. Like, I just suddenly was afraid. So afraid until it was crippling. When I started to figure out what it was, I thought, okay, I need to understand where this is coming from. But also the other thing that was happening was maybe it's because I was going through it and I was questioning it. I started to see so many people talk about it. And I took keen interest in just understanding what they were saying. People were talking about the saber-toothed tiger and, different parts of our brains and how we perceive things and fear and so on and so forth. Very interesting. But the fear of failure, especially when it comes to business, when it comes to projects that we want to do, when it comes to starting YouTube channels and, so many things that can really get so crazy, put things off for a day, becomes 3 months, 6 months, a year, a few years. And I started to also notice this in my children. When someone is afraid of something, I always would feel like, oh my God, I can see how it starts at a tender age, and then, try to talk about it. But something happened yesterday that was also profound, and really spoke to this fear of failure and how we get into it. So I just thought I should share. It's about rice. My daughter said yesterday she wanted to cook rice because she was worried the potatoes might not be enough. I was like, okay, cool. You know how to cook the rice. Now, the kind of rice that we love to eat in our house is called super rice. Super rice is not your good old basmati or the long grain rice that is pretty simple to put in, equal measure of water and whatever, water and rice, and just let it cook. You cannot go wrong. This one goes wrong. And but because it's the rice that we love, I had to teach her how to cook it, how to turn down the heat when it starts to really boil, when the water gets to a certain level just above the rice, like you can sort of see it starting to bubble right on top of the rice. I take her through that whole process and she is good. Especially last year, 2020 lockdown, we did so much cooking and, we really got into the whole housework and all. Anyway, so she says she wants to cook the rice. I'm like, cool, go ahead and wow us. And I'm sitting in the living room while she's in the kitchen with her cousin, and he's making the sauce, she's making the rice. Both of them are 13. Very proud of them. But they keep coming to me. She keeps saying, Mommy, what do I do now? Should I cut the onions and put them in? I'm like, yes. Okay. She goes back, comes back. Mommy, I've put the salt. Should I put the salt now? I'm thinking, I keep telling her, you know how to make the rice. She goes away, comes back and says, Mommy, the water is starting to reduce. I'm thinking, please stop bugging me. I'm busy. This back and forth continues. Her cousin also keeps coming and saying, Auntie Jerry, should I, Auntie Jerry. And anyway, I'm trying to think, what is wrong with them? And many times I say to them, stop asking me. You know exactly what to do. Okay? Because when I'm not here, they do it. Anyway, I say to her, so at some point I'm like, let me go and see what she's talking about. I get to the kitchen and she's using a burner that doesn't regulate heat. So I say to her, you're going to have to switch, because her cousin is using the other burner. I say to her, you're going to have to switch. Once the rice gets to that level that, where we need to turn down the heat, you're going to have to switch burners with Jojo so that he makes the sauce on the other one. And, she's like, okay. But at that point, Jojo asks a question. No, so I come back and sit. And Jojo calls me, Auntie Jerry, Auntie Jerry, Auntie Jerry, Auntie Jerry. So I get up and go, see what he's doing. And I give him instructions. At about that point, Imani, my daughter, asks me if it was the right time to switch the rice. I kind of remember her asking, but I don't know if I answered. So I deal with Jojo, come back and sit. No one comes for a while. Then she comes and says, Mommy, I'm kind of worried about the rice now. I get up and go and check the rice, and it's burning. Like, it's starting to burn. So, I went casually, but when I realized it was burning, I'm like, oh my God, it's burning. Like, bring another saucepan. And I said to them, the minute something is burning, change the pan immediately, like change the contents of the pan into another before the smell of smoke goes from the bottom into the rest of the food. So we do the switching, and I'm really in a rush. And so she's helping me. She brings a spoon, brings another pot, and she's standing around just waiting to pick it, and takes the other pot, soaks it in water. But so in that rush, she starts to feel like, and I'm like, you burnt the rice. I just watched her facial expression and thought, okay, what do we have here? She then says, I kind of look at her, and then she says, but I'm sorry I burnt the rice. I said, no, it's okay. Then she says, but I'm getting better, Mommy, aren't I? I thought. So I called them, her cousin, and then I called the sister as well. And I said, you know what just happened? Imani burnt the rice. But I think it's a good time for us to learn a life lesson. I said to them that we've done the whole rice lesson thing, giving them the skills on how to prepare good rice. You have practiced. You've made rice numerous times before. But suddenly, I don't know why, you started doubting yourself. And in doubting yourself, you started asking a lot of questions. You say, is it the right time? Should I do it now? Should I, is it, must I? How about, Mommy, come and see? Yet you know exactly what to do. Is it because I was here that you started feeling like, okay, maybe I should check? Now, that self-doubt caused her to kind of lose focus or forget what she knew at the time when she needed to make a decision. Because when she asked me, should I switch the burners now? She knew what she needed to do. She did not make the decision, okay? She did not make the decision, and she did not take the necessary action. And what was the result? She sat back and the rice started to actually burn. So when I rush in and, I'm fixing, I bet in her mind she's saying to herself, I should have done it. I should have done it. I knew what to do. And, all these thoughts I'm thinking, because sometimes that's what I go through. And then she says, she's burnt the rice, we've changed it, and now she's saying, I know I burnt the rice, but I'm getting better, aren't I? That's what we always say. Like, okay, I'm learning. I'm getting better. Like, I'm not such a hopeless case. And I thought, this here, I say to them, you know exactly what you need to do. You have to trust yourself. You have to trust that you can do it because you've been practicing for so long. You've been practicing for so long. Okay, and then we really just talked about different scenarios in life, not so much business for them because they're in school. I said, when you go to school, you study, you're taught, and at some point there's an assessment that is made, and another assessment, and then you keep moving along. Then you get to the point where you do the one big exam. Okay, that exam tests you on so many levels, but then they don't test you on absolutely everything that you've studied. They pick and choose. And I said to her, you have to trust that you can cook rice, but you have only cooked rice you've been good with a burner that regulates properly. Now, you used a burner that does not regulate. Today, you know that if the burner does not regulate, your food will burn. So you need to think, if I had a burner that doesn't regulate at all, what do I do? Okay? And then you switch your action based on what will happen with that burner. And I said to her as well, there are electric burners. You're using gas. Once you turn the gas flame off, you've cut the heat off. The new heat that's coming in, the food has to cook or stay warm with whatever it has on the inside. If you use an electric burner, you're going to have to figure out that you turn that heat down or off a lot sooner because it continues to cook at the same temperature for a while and then starts to taper off into a lower temperature. So in the same way, when you are doing an exam, you are going to be, you've learned so many things, and the examiner picks and chooses which part you are tested on. So cooking the rice is the test of all the things that you have learned. Whether you're going to cook it on the gas or cook it on a burner or cook it on a charcoal stove. At the end of the day, the examiner wants rice. If in life as well, we go through so many things, but life tests us in different circumstances. So it could be the same thing, but in different circumstances. Now, when I bring this conversation back to business, and I see especially how I've been running my business, and a lot of people have been running their businesses or worry when they run business. The rice, I've written something down here. Cooking the rice, learning how to cook the rice is learning the skills. So there's a set way to cook rice. You say, this is the measurement of water, this is the measurement of rice that you're going to put in. Do you start with cold water or do you start with hot water? What do you look out for as you're cooking? At what point do you reduce? Do you put salt? Do you put some oil? What kind of oil do you want to put? All that is the process, okay? And to learn that process, there is a theoretical part, but there's practical. So you start to learn the skills. Same as any business. You learn the skills of how to run a successful business. Successful business being good rice. Now, when you let doubt set in, because when you're checking at what point, to reduce the heat and so on and so forth, you're not using an exact measure to say after 10 minutes, turn the heat down. After, another 2 minutes, do things like that. You're going to have to use your intuition and your eyes and just kind of think about all the things that you've learned and say, should this be it? Should it, maybe, and just gauge it. But in that gauging, you are trusting yourself. Same with business. Just look at what is happening around you. What is happening with your clients? What is happening with the weather? And gauge what the action should be. Some days you may be a bit off. Other days you'll be spot on. But you learn every day to say, if life throws lemons, I make lemonade. And I should be ready at all times. So we have to make a decision. Based on what is going on, you have to make a decision because, the heat is continuing to come into the rice. You have to decide, okay? Do not get stuck. decide to either take it off and the rice, remains soggy, or take it off and the rice is perfect, or keep it on. You have to make a decision, and it has to be a decision that you're ready to stand by and again learn from. Okay, then the learning comes from whatever the outcome is. If you burn the rice, if you make a loss in the business, take a step back and say, what did I do? How did I arrive at this loss? Forget that somebody didn't do whatever. First of all, what did I do? Did I supervise the person all the way? Did I leave them to make decisions? Did I guide them? Is there anything I could have done? Maybe there was nothing. That is still okay. But what are the steps I should look out for next time so that I don't burn the rice again or do not make a loss again? And then my daughter was looking for reassurance, but I'm learning. She was saying, be kind to me. We need to be kind to ourselves when these things happen. And the kindness will come from your assessment of how you arrived at that place. Then you say, okay, I see where I made the mistake. Next time I will do better. And yes, just to understand that life is a learning curve. I don't know who said that, if you try and cook rice, if it burns, you say, oh my God, I'm such a failure. I will never cook rice again. No, that's not it. You instead decide that you will do better next time. You will be more alert. You will read the signs better. So failure is not failure. Fear of failure cripples us. Fear of failure makes us freeze. And yet it is not failure. It is learning. And we are constantly learning. And we're learning at different paces. And we have different experiences in our environment that feed into this learning. So we cannot just say we are failing. Once we remove that, the word failure, then we can keep trying and getting better and trying and getting better. So that's really what I wanted to share from our rice episode yesterday. I hope that it helps you in any way. And if it does, please share. Let's spread the message. Otherwise, thank you so much, and I will see you on my next video.